Today's guest needs no introduction, but in case you have been living in seclusion for the last some odd 20 years, let me introduce the iconic Kelly Rutherford. Kelly was born in Kentucky and grew up in California, where she began her acting career. Best known for her roles on Melrose Place, and then, of course, her role as Lily Vanderwoodson in Gossip Girl from 2007 to 2012. She is an activist for women and the environment, a mother, an artist, and an all-around incredible human being. It is my pleasure to welcome my friend, Kelly Rutherford.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're always talking anyway. We may as well do this. I'll record it.
I'm so happy to have you on here because you have been an inspiration to me on my path to self-discovery. And I know that you are an inspiration to so many people.
Thank you. Well, we've known each other so long.
Yes, we
so
have.
long, since my probably like 13, 14, well, no, probably like 10 years, 10 or 11 years, which is a long time.
It's a long time.
Thank you for having me.
And I was wondering if you might start by talking to us about your beginnings, like where you grew up or how you grew up and what it was like.
Well, I was born in Kentucky, in a very small town in Kentucky, and my parents were in college together at the University of Tennessee, so they met and had me rather quickly. And so, yeah, we were in Kentucky, but then we moved so much. I lived there, I was only, I think, 6 months old when we moved, and we moved around a lot when I was a kid. My ancestors are a lot of explorers, and I feel that energy now in my life, like this sort of explorer energy and wanting to sort of keep moving, keep going and keep moving. So, yeah, and I grew up partly in California.
Okay.
And then New York a little bit. I studied acting in New York, and then, I went to high school in California, which was beautiful. It was really, really nice. Yeah, so, I mean, my growing up was really, it was interesting. I went to a lot of different schools, and I think it helped me so much adapt and judge less. Like, I look back now, and I was caught up like every kid in the dramas of school a little bit, and the friends and the this and that and the boys and the, love and everything. But it also made me an observer. More than I think I would have been if I had maybe grown up in the same place and stayed in the same place.
Right.
And a lot more compassionate for different people. And I really very quickly realized, okay, these are the cool people. These are the people that are kind of the artists. These are the sort of jocks, the people that are, more sporty. And, all these different, how we categorize people.
Interesting.
Was really interesting to me. And I think a lot of that was what was developing in me as an actress, or somebody who was able to see people and their characters and why we make the choices we make.
Right.
And finding it fascinating.
That's amazing that you, at a young age, were already contemplating those things.
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that, definitely developing to become an amazing actor.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to see why we do what we do.
So when you were growing up, was there any things that happened to you in your life that you think really impacted you young? Or was it, other than moving around, was there anything else that, how did you feel with friends? Was there anything socially or life incidences or things that occurred?
Yeah, well, I think a lot starts at home, with our parents as much as it does anywhere else, and I had very nice grandparents, but they had their own dynamic, as couples probably did in their generation. And then my mother was sort of a different generation where it was more freedom and, there was sort of this idea of being a feminist and even though you weren't quite a feminist because you still saw this sort of old idea of how things were supposed to be, and so I saw my mom going through that really interesting time of being independent and being a woman and being a single mother or going through a divorce during a time when, there were certain ideals to live up to and standards and things, and kind of wanting the old traditional thing, but then having this new freedom and this new idea and what that meant, and figuring out how to to balance it. So there was a lot of, that growing up, like, okay, watching all the dynamics play out, watching my grandmother and how she dealt with my grandfather and being a woman during her time, and then my mother during her time, and then trying to decide who I was going to be in my time, and so it was. I mean, that I remember a lot being a sort of dynamic, but also just figuring out who you want to be through example of at home, but then also at school, and like not really fitting into any real specific group as they kind of were at school. I just felt half the time I'd just go to the library with these girls that were kind of didn't fit in, because I just felt like I wasn't really, I mean, by all appearances I fit in.
Oh, yeah.
But sort of internally, I think we all have that a little bit, like we don't fit in. So, or at least I did. And figuring out who I was. And, my mother really was encouraging of being an individual and being yourself and having your own mind, but also being very respectful at the same time, because she's from the South. It was very
right.
Yes, ma'am. No, sir. Like that kind of thing.
Right.
Yes, sir. No,
but
sir.
I see that you post things with your mom. You guys are still close.
Very
I think
close.
it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's important to have a strong mother.
Yeah. And I went through a tough time. I went through like a tough time with my mom too. You go through times with your parents where you're differentiating who you are from who they are. Right. And that's, can be challenging in relations, because there's blame. Why weren't you this type of mother or that type of mother when, Jane has that kind of mom, or, whatever has that kind of mom or life or whatever. So, but I think it's natural. As you get older, you realize that's just natural, that you're comparing, you're, figuring out what's what. And it's not until later you realize all necessarily the blessings that were there for you. Right. Not always until later.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Can relate to that totally.
Yeah.
Have had that relationship with my mother as well. I went through a few years where I didn't even speak with her. Sure. And needed to process things. Yeah. And now we've said what needed to be said. I'm a mother, so I understand her better. I've accepted. I won't even say the word forgive, because it's not about forgiveness. I've accepted what's happened and understand it. Yeah. What happened, what's happening, and I see myself and all of my strengths and weaknesses, and it's changed everything or transformed our relationship now. Yeah.
It comes down to love. I think our mothers, if we look at what it's like to be a mother and the mistakes that we make and the fears that we have and the figuring it out as we go, we realize, oh my gosh, my mom was 19 when she had me, like wow. Imagine really figuring it all out at that age. Oh, and I'm surprised she did. And now I look at her and I just go, whoa, you did an incredible job considering where you come from and you're the age that you had me. And so, you have a lot more love and respect, which, you circle back and have so much more compassion and love for your mother, when you realize all you have to do is give birth to a child, particularly naturally, and you realize, oh my gosh, girl.
That's intense.
All is forgiven.
Yeah,
I don't
it's all
know.
good.
Whatever you had to do, you do. And we all do what we have to do to survive. We really do. And if you look at the circumstances in which your parents and their what they were given to deal with in this world, some great things, but also challenges. It made them who they were. And so if you can see it, sort of step back and see that picture, it helps to have compassion. Really.
Well, with my mom, it was interesting because I had a flash moment where I reframed her and everything she did as love, because I had this idea of who she was. I had names in my mind of her that weren't nice. And then when everything she did, all of a sudden I said, okay, I'm going to choose to see that comes from love. Everything shifted in our relationship.
And appreciation. Yeah. I mean, the minute I started just only really talking about, and I think most things come back to this, whether it's with anyone in your life, whether it's your mother, your children, your coworkers, your primary relationship with your partner in life, it's really comes down, and one of the biggest lessons I've learned is appreciation and focusing on what is good, what did my mother do that was good?
Yes.
Because I am so thankful that she is my mother in this lifetime and did so many good things. Instead of, when you're a kid, you focus on like what they did wrong or what they're not giving you, or, because there's a level of discipline there. They have to,
Yeah.
So it's nice, to, when you get older to really tell them.
Yeah.
And if the younger we can learn to appreciate, look for the things, it expands that. Obviously, it makes that all the more expansive, the more you appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Nurture that.
You look for the blessings and the magic, and all of a sudden you see blessings
There,
and magic
it's
everywhere.
not a funny thing. I know.
It's kind of fascinating.
Yeah. We knew it when we were 3 and 4, like with our
Right.
little magic wands running around,
Yeah.
We knew it then.
Yeah. It's the
I
process of remembering
I know,
again.
I know.
So can you tell us a little about your trip to New York, going to school in New York, the whole process of deciding to be an actor and how you came to that idea? You've touched a little bit about it because your upbringing obviously had great influences on that already. But how was that experience coming here? How old were you when you came to New York?
I came when I first was in New York when I was 14. I was modeling for Eileen Ford, so we just came for the summer to model. And then I came back. Finished high school. I think I graduated when I was 17. Then I came back to New York, and I studied acting, and I was here for 18 months, almost 2 years. I was really homesick. I missed home. It was tough, to be on my own and that young. And so, I did commercials, I did a little modeling, I did a little bit of acting, I kind of did little bits on soaps. And then I had an acting teacher that said, you're young and a woman, you should go back and start working really seriously rather than studying and maybe focus on doing theater or something else. In other words, go get in, go get things going.
Okay.
Get a series, go work, because you can always come back and do theater
Right.
later, and you'll
Right.
have more to sort of bring to it then. And of course, I never came back to do theater. I just kept working. I was like, this is fun. And
Just
so
got too much work.
Well, it's good. Well, and I have friends that do a lot of theater, and I hear it's incredible. I haven't done it yet, but yeah. So it was just, and I grew up wanting. I was just creative. My mom was creative. I was around, creative people, and that's how it was expressed. I guess I could have gone sort of the more typical route and gone to college and studied law or studied journalism. I was interested in journalism a little bit. That was one thing, like international journalism, why in cultures and why different cultures cultivate different things based on where they are or traditions. That has always been fascinating to me. So, still is. And why we don't take what other people are doing so well and apply it to our own things,
Right.
like even politically, or environmentally, or in terms of education or health or all of that, to sort of study what everyone's doing that's working
Right.
and incorporate it. So that was always really fascinating. Still is.
And so did you find that you had, the whole process of auditioning, that all seems so scary to me.
Yeah.
Like the rejection of it, I guess.
Yes.
You're my understanding, I'm not an actor, so I don't know,
Yeah.
but is that you face a lot of rejection before you face acceptance. So
Yeah.
were you equipped for that? How did you, it sounds like you really managed it well.
No, I think in the beginning it's hard because it's like public speaking or anything that's new and you're in front of a crowd. You're going to feel nervous and awkward, and you're going to think you didn't do well or you did do well, and it's all a process of. I find that everything is just reframing, right? So you reframe it, and I would. So how do I reframe this for myself? If it's anything in your life that you're sort of uncomfortable with, or how do I reframe it in a way that makes it fun? Or I would give myself rewards after I auditioned. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go for some frozen yogurt with some whatever now. I would give myself little, or I'm going to go get myself a new cute T-shirt, whatever. I would just reframe it in a way that was making it fun versus making it work, because that part was the work, but once I was doing it, I had so much fun. So it was like, how do you get to the part where the fun part happens? And a lot of that was, okay, the auditioning and the this and the dealing with the business. And I had a really great acting coach named Jocelyn Jones, still love her, she's amazing. And she really was about the business. It's a business, and treating it like a business. So you're an artist, yes, but this is also a business you're dealing with. You have to interact with people. You have to show up on time.
Right.
Hit your mark, say your line, and give more than the next person. Give 10% more than what and being accountable and handling your life. So that helped me too, because it went from being a personal thing to a business thing. So reframing it to be, okay, I'm a business person. This isn't just about, you can be that way as an artist, as a painter. You also have to see it. There's a part of you that has to go, okay, this is also a business.
Right. Yeah.
If you choose to go down that path, and you can be accountable in those ways. So she helped a lot with that. And
I love that. I love what I'm hearing, specifically the first part of what you were saying about reframing it to be joyful.
To work for you, to work for you.
Yeah, to find the joy. So much, I've worked through that a lot. So much of the striving or doing things, and then so when is the joy coming? You know what I mean? Like when?
Yeah.
So I want to get there so that I can be joyful, rather than being joyful. You know what I mean?
And having fun.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too, I believe, is reframing it in a way that I would start going in the room and think, do I want to work with these people?
I love that.
Do I like their energy? Do I like what I'm
Yes.
doing? Just being present enough to say, who are these people too? For that moment that I'm in the room, and feeling their energy and what that's about. So we're choosing all day long. And so it's empowering yourself to, and like you just said, which is so great, is how do I make this joyful through the whole process? And that is reframing it so that you are empowered and that you are having a good time. So I'm having a better time if I walk in and say, you know what, I'm going to do this exactly how I want to do it. I'm going to have a good time. I'm either right for this person or I'm not right for this person in terms of the work, or right for this role, I should say.
Right.
Or even you could say personally, you go on a date, whatever. It's still right? People see dates as auditions these days.
Yeah. True.
So it's no different than whether you go on a date and you're nervous, or you get up in public speak and you're nervous, or you're going for a job interview, or whatever it is, whatever that new thing is, what experience do I want to have here, and how do I empower myself? Because really, and I think it was George Clooney, I was working with him on a pilot, and he had said something to the effect of, they want to know you're confident enough to do this.
Yeah.
So if you walk in confident of saying, I know, I can do this, versus walking in going, do you like what I just did? Is it okay?
Totally.
Is a very different approach to everything. Whether it's a job, any type of job interview, any type of relationship, anything you're going into, it's a much better thing to show up and say, not only can I do this job, but I could run the studio.
Right. I'm a badass. In fact, I have to tell you, when I was thinking about doing your intro, I was gonna, instead of, I don't know what I said. I think I said that she's an incredible human being, but I actually had written down, and she's a badass.
I don't feel badass.
Well, you are such a badass. I love it. I mean,
so
yes,
sweet.
you are such a badass.
Thank you.
I love it. So that's amazing. And the other piece of what you said, which I really appreciated, that there is that piece of, you need to show up and do things. And what I heard is have the discipline to kind of back up what you're doing. So this idea, a lot of what I see a lot of times in the whole idea of manifesting things in your life is this idea that you can just kind of sit in your room and say, I want this, and just stay there and do nothing. And that's it. And I don't know, maybe that could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't, but following the breadcrumbs and doing the next right thing, and sometimes those next right things aren't necessarily things you're going to love doing, but they're the right thing.
Right.
If that makes any sense. That's what I was hearing from what you were saying. You had an amazing coach telling you that.
It's how do I make this fun for myself, right? So and what'll happen is, by making it fun for yourself, you'll attract the next right thing.
Yeah.
So even if you're in a job right now that you don't love, or you're going to an audition and you're nervous, or a new job interview, or a date, or all these situations where we get butterflies in our hands, and we're like, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't. is, how do I make this fun and reframe it in a way that I'm comfortable? So if you're going on a date or you reframe it in a way that says, how would this would be comfortable if I just saw this person as a human being and a friend? This isn't a date. This is just meeting someone new. Do I like them? What's going on physically when I meet this person? Do I feel comfortable? Listening to our bodies and being, a lot of the time we step out of ourselves.
Yes.
We literally.
We were talking
we're
about
not
that.
even
We
ourselves.
give away our power.
We go in a
were
room
saying
and
this,
we, instead of just really saying, how can I be the most centered and grounded, and how do I get there to make this fun? And so whether it was auditioning, it would be like, I'm going to go and have a good time.
Right.
If I get it, great.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'm going to learn something. Either way, I'm going to go have a good experience for myself. And I think it's the same with everything. You go to have a good experience for yourself.
Yes.
And enjoy it. I mean, you're obviously open and receptive to the other people in the room, and you're workable and you're professional and all of these things. You're also going into it saying, I'm going to have a good time with this.
Right.
Because really, this is fun. This is acting.
Yeah, well, right. That's a really good way to reframe it, because you're like, it's like acting.
Okay.
This is not supposed to be so painful. It's acting.
There is a point, too, where allowing things to happen, because there's, I love writing affirmations and love this idea of creating it, right? So you're creating it because it also gives you confidence. So the more you write that, when you're starting out, I'm a working actress. I love what I do. I'm working with really wonderful people in every aspect of your life, whether it's your work, your relationships, again, your family. My children are healthy, happy, holy, divinely guided, protected. Whatever these things are, it helps too when you go in the room or you are out walking. The more specific we can be in the I am perfect, whole, and complete. And it does, regardless of anything else. Yeah. Nothing needs to happen in my day. Right. That's just the truth.
Right.
So going from there, to even do a meditation where you have everything. You have the success already. You have the money. You have the love. You have everything. Yeah. Is a really interesting meditation. Because like you said, yes, you can't just sit in a room maybe and
who
meditate
knows?
and say, oh, it's going to come knocking on my door, which is totally possible.
It is.
And yet at the same time, what helps is to visualize, to create through your imagination, through your feeling body, all of that.
I absolutely. When I started realizing that I needed to change, it actually was, I made
perfect.
This. Yes. Oh, I love you.
Well, you are perfect.
You know what it was? I wanted to be more joyful.
Yes.
And so I saw things that I wanted to do that gave me joy.
I love it.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm reframing.
Yes,
that's really,
true.
And I made this decision that I was going to get up every morning at 6 a.m. and listen to this visualization meditation that took me through parts of my life and didn't tell me what they were going to look like. It was almost like my own private video game. And I started doing it every morning. I love getting up, and I love the ritual of having my cup of coffee ready for me and like sitting with a candle. But it was so fascinating because it speaks to what you're talking about, I think, to an extent, because I remember beginning it, the ideas that I had, and then as I did it each morning, they expanded and they shifted. And then what was possible
became bigger,
got
and
bigger and bigger. And then magical stuff just started happening because it's exactly what you were speaking about. Because
you were taking time for yourself.
Because I was taking the time and allowing.
I get busy, and this is so good. I'm so glad you're saying this today because I can tend to just get busy. Right?
I think everyone can.
and go, and think that is being productive when we can be just as productive doing what you're saying. And I think the part of it, of sitting at home and having it arrive or show up, is the part that you just mentioned, which is the ritual. If you're centered, you're visualizing, you're expanding your ideas of what's possible, you're focused on what brings you joy. I mean, certainly, if you go into any room with that energy, you're going to have a lot more to offer, and people are going to feel it. So I think part of it is doing that work, the inner work at home, of filling your nurturing yourself with all of that good stuff. And the more we take the time for ourselves, I mean, I don't even take the time to brush my hair half the time. So
I don't brush my hair either.
Right?
And my husband's always like,
women
"Don't
that are
women brush their hair?"
I'm like, how do they get anything done?
Oh my God,
Really?
it's so funny.
No, but I'm always been like that tomboy, running around, just
I'm the same.
playing, whatever.
Yeah.
But too, to develop these other sides of ourselves, because I think of that too. And a lot of it's what we were talking about earlier, about growing up and being like, well, you're going to like me anyway, whether I brush my hair, I don't brush my hair.
Right.
And it's a defensive thing when you grow up and want people to like you for you.
Yes.
Like, okay, I don't have to be this or that according to what society says I have to be. Like we were talking about, well, smile, you're this or that. But really, it's about the empowerment of ourselves and to be the most beautiful we can be. And when women are in their power,
yes,
the whole world is in a better place, right?
Yes.
We're talking about men are really good with like the action stuff, and women are really good with the creating the joy. And the reason people want us smiling, whether it's our children, our family, a husband, or whatever. Yes, okay, we could see it as sexist and like, okay, I don't want to have to smile all day for everyone or be on. But it's also a symbol of when mama's happy, we're all happy. Right. And when mama's centered and in her power and joyful and loving herself, feeling good, feeling whatever it is, whether it's sexy or just content or beautiful or well, overall wellness.
Yeah.
Our divine energy, that feminine, beautiful, loving, nurturing, divine energy where we're not afraid to ask in a very loving way for the things we need and want. And it's part of that. It's taking the time, and I certainly could do more of this, taking more time to be in that space. That's the space where things get done, even with less running around.
Yes.
So with more manifestation power, it's like the more we are when we're centered and empowered, and we take the time to do what you're talking about, which is light the candle, have the cup of tea, get quiet, go within, let our hair down, allow ourselves to just not have to be everything for everyone, but be what we need to be for ourselves. Then we have something to offer.
Absolutely.
Then we really have something to offer. And I certainly could develop more of those things and think about developing more of that time for that.
We all, we all can. It's like, I think of it as like kind of building a muscle. It's my muscle, like a bodybuilder, and it's interesting because recently my husband has seen this, and I'm actually really happy because we've had a few times where we needed something really fast, and it was kind of seemed like impossible.
Right.
And
he became your superhero.
And well, yes, he's always my superhero.
He used his superhero powers.
He did, but what was the beautiful thing of the masculine and feminine is I created the space, and then he created the action. So I said, honey, it's all going to fall into line perfectly and magically. What we need is going to happen. And then it was like, okay, then he could say, oh, well, maybe we need to contact this person to get this. And then, of course, we got it. It
gave the space for ideas to come through.
For that balance of for me, it's really a lot of the masculine and feminine. I have a lot of this, like you were talking about, this stuff coming in, a very defensive, very protective thing around me, and I'm learning as I'm finding my joyful voice, I'm learning that I can do those things. I can do everything, and I can also choose to allow my husband and the people around me to do things too, and to take care of me. Like that, I'll tell you, when I was younger, because of the way my parents what I assumed, I was like, no man's going to I'm taking care of me.
Well, I think that's a normal thing, and particularly in our generation, because we went through times. I mean, my mother got divorced, and there was no child support, and she was with kids and had to take care of her too. But I think we grew up having to sort of deal in that way sometimes, where you just feel like okay, and a desire to really be loved and seen for yourself, right? So not all these other things. We all survive in different ways, no matter how it is, how it looks. We're all,
Right.
figuring it out as we go. And what we were talking about earlier too is it comes back to love. So more love for ourselves, more love for our parents, and that they did their best, and love for the people around us. But mainly it really starts with loving ourselves and taking the time to take care of ourselves.
It's so funny because I know my husband said this to you before we started, but like this morning I saw a quote that you posted.
Yeah.
Every situation in your life is teaching you how to love.
Yeah.
And I just heard it and I was like, that is the perfect quote for Kelly, because you literally exude love.
Oh.
You exude massive love. Can you please tell us your secret?
Yeah, the secret.
Tell us the secret.
I wish I knew the
Tell
secret.
us the secret.
The secret is, well, there's that great book called The Secret. Interesting. And it's a great book. It is The Secret. It's not a secret anymore because I think it's a bestseller. But I really do think it's about going back to appreciating. The more we appreciate and love, and I've gone, I'm just probably as hard on myself as everyone is. We're our own critic and this and that. But I do believe the only thing that really makes sense is love.
Yeah.
It's just the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, sometimes I'll post quotes about love, and also people say, well, in my relation, but why am I not with a, relation? Because that's not the love that I'm talking about always. The love,
No.
it's an energy of love. It's blessing people. It's, instead of judging them, bless them. Because not for them, for you.
Oh, yes.
Because you'll be more radiant. You will radiate love, which will attract everything that you want in your life.
Well, as I judge others, I judge myself.
Right. And
Much more harshly.
Right. So the more
Yeah.
we can bless everyone, not just when they sneeze, bless everyone all day long. Bless the taxi driver, bless the guy, the girl at the grocery store, the doorman when you're going in and out. Just it's an energy, it's a vibration of love. And certainly we come in and out of it, but when I'm confused or I'm worried or I'm stressed because I've gotten into my thinking mind about things, or worried, or I'm not appreciating things, or ingratitude, which is all that it is. The minute you're out of that,
Yeah.
it's the only thing
Yeah.
that works.
I love it. It's so simple. It's so simple. So simple, yet not always that easy.
Yeah.
So can we tell us a little bit about, so you Gossip Girl, when you got Lily, and at the same time you became mother, am I correct? How was that? Like, how was that whole...
It was super empowering, because I think becoming a mother is incredibly empowering. And it's exhausting and
Right.
a lot of other things too, but it's an empowering thing to give birth and to know that there's this child in the world. It's such a in a beautiful way, empowering,
Yeah.
So, and it puts a lot in perspective really fast. I used to do a lot of homework on my scenes before I'd go to work, and then I was like, nope, I was at breastfeeding. I've had 3 hours sleep, and I'm learning my lines as we go today. So please run them with me a lot.
I love it.
Put some more eye drops in, and we're going to figure this out. And sometimes the best work is done that way, right?
Sure.
Because you're just there. You're just
Lily
so
was
present.
a badass, so I don't know if
She's
that
a
maybe,
great character.
she was a great character, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you brought that in.
Well, she was written that way, but also I just felt that there hadn't been a real matriarch character, or as a mother, right?
Right.
And to me, that's what I would. It was so many things. It was so many things. And going into that character, partly just my mother and her friends growing up, and partly what is a matriarch and what does that mean to me, and who is that woman today, and who's that as a mother, who's that in her relationships, on and on. I'm like, I forget we're on camera, and I'm like, I'm doing a podcast today.
We're filming this, and we're both like brushing our
I
noses, like slouching down.
There's the camera there, and here I am. So
it's all good.
Right, it's all good. So, but yeah, but, characters are opportunities to be the parts of ourselves that maybe we can't express every day, all day, right? So it's like the artist's way, where you say, okay, there's so many different aspects to all of us. How do I get all of those aspects fulfilled? And how do I incorporate those aspects? How do I weave that into my life, that's the magic carpet ride right there. Is how do I create a carpet that, a weave that has all these magical threads of who I am. And it comes in through, like so many people are talking about ancestral stuff now, right? It comes from your DNA, it comes from your life experiences, it comes from your hopes and dreams that are completely separate from your family and your ancestors that you're supposed to carry on. It's listening, all the learning that we do, all the evolving that we do.
Right.
It all comes back to magic at the end.
Oh,
of it.
yes.
It does.
It does.
It is, because, and it's simple. It's asking, how often do we take the time? Yeah. We worry, we stress, we demand, we blah, 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 for hours about stuff.
Yeah.
And really, how often do we just get quiet and say, could I please have an improvement in my health?
Right.
Or can I please show me the way to do this? This is my desire. How do I get there? Would you please show me the way and help guide me? What do I need to do here? And it's not really like out there magic, like when I say magic and unicorns and all that, but it really works magic. So it's so simple.
Somebody was just telling me recently, what I found it very profound. She said, if you start asking, and for her it was asking your ancestors, asking God for direction, you will get the direction. If you forget to ask, then ancestors or God will send people to give you the message. And so she's like, why don't you just go the direct line?
Yes.
And I was like, I had chills. I was like, wow.
And there is a direct line.
There is a direct line. But this year, I have been blessed with so many people that have come to me with these messages. And now I'm ready to go for the direct line. Like, I've been sort of doing the direct line, but now I'm kind of really like, okay, yeah, I see the magic. Anyway, I found it, I'm still kind of absorbing it, so maybe you can help me with it. Like, when she said it, it really hit me. Like, I was like, wow, okay. And I still have to process through it, but I thought it was kind of a beautiful thought.
It is. Well, there's the matrix, right? We're in this sort of I was thinking during the holidays, I was thinking, here we are, we have this holiday at the end of the year, and then we have another holiday, and then they take that away and we have another holiday. We're even so holiday programmed, and so we're so nose to this, we just go along, even when we think we're not going along.
Absolutely.
There's so much that we don't question the ordinary.
Right. Right.
And how we're so guided by the economy or by these holidays or by what we're told how we're supposed to be in our particular culture or society or tradition. It's just, there's so much stuff. That's the reason getting quiet. That's the reason lighting the candle is so important, because our own guidance and the line, the connection to source or God or whatever you want to call the infinite intelligence that is, it's so simple, but if everyone did that, the world would not be able to exist as it is and as we see it today.
Absolutely.
So, and what we're seeing today is caused by collective thought guided collective thought. So if we can have a new guided collective thought and envision something different, we can create that for sure. And it starts with our own life, right? So it starts with our own day,
Right.
whatever it is. Just less explaining, talking, defending, demanding, and more getting quiet, writing, getting more specific, more purposeful, more kind, loving, soft.
Yeah.
Right, all these things, and
Yeah.
really taking care of ourselves, because we don't have anything to offer anyone unless we're doing this. Really,
No, that's
really,
absolutely the truth.
We're all over-talked.
Well, I just treat
over
I create
everything.
chaos. That's if I'm walking into a room, I'm either creating love or I'm creating chaos. There really is no in between for me, because I tend to affect the room. Like I haven't, I just do stuff. I'm also a doer. So it's something I've thought about. I go into a space and things aren't working out. Something I've realized recently aren't working out the way I like, and I don't feel like this person is jiving with me and this and that. And it's just recently that I realized, yeah, honey. So just change the story. Change what's going on. You're affecting this is your story, and it's exactly what I'm hearing you say. It's about stopping and getting conscious, and for me it's been about getting clear, really clear, and when I get into that space, then, like we said before, miraculously, relationships that didn't work all of a sudden start to work better. I feel energetically people around me that I used to think didn't like me are drawn to me. It's so simple, and yet, for a long time, I was unaware. So that's okay. I was evolving into understanding it now, and there's definitely moments where I still I'm not always aware of this. I get it.
Right.
Sometimes it comes to me after.
We've had years of programming in
Yeah.
a very different way.
Yeah.
So it takes a minute, right?
Right. Yeah.
And to be kind to ourselves and say,
Exactly.
the fact
Yes.
that I have a desire to do this, and I'm doing my best each day to do it, is the greatest thing ever. Because if we can manage our energy and stay alkaline and manage our energy in as many ways as we can, and do things that create more love and loving energy, things do change.
Yeah.
Because everyone's had their life, and those people that sometimes we think, oh, they don't like us or this or that, they're responding to their own
Sure.
survival instincts
Of
and what
course.
they've had to survive in their life. And then you realize there's compassion. When my kids say, oh, there's this kid at school and he's always hitting everybody, and I said, well, he may have an older brother that hits him, or he may
very
have,
likely, very likely.
or he may have
yeah.
parents that are fighting at home and he doesn't know what else to do. And wouldn't you feel kind of bad giving him a hard time if that's what he was already suffering? Because people aren't mean to people that aren't already, they're mean because they've suffered,
Yeah.
or somebody has not been nice to them. So not that that's an excuse, but it does give you perspective and compassion for
You can always have compassion.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you have to allow people to. It's not about letting someone abuse you, for me, compassion is different. Like compassion is the perspective you have, that you don't need to feed the hurt.
Right.
You don't have to feed the hurt. You don't have to allow the hurt to necessarily damage you, but you don't have to feed the hurt in order to defend yourself, because it's already a very weak
It's just
vibration.
awareness. All
Yeah.
of it's just awareness.
Yeah. So, during this time, becoming a mother, this amazing, iconic role in Gossip Girl, you also filed for divorce.
Yeah.
And then proceeded to inspire publicly people by the grace with which you
Oh, I don't know how great.
yes,
But thank
yes,
you.
managed through something pretty intense.
Yeah.
Can
Didn't
you-
feel graceful.
Well, no, I'm sure it didn't feel
But yes.
graceful.
Feel graceful, but yes. I just have so much love for children, so much love for children, and so much love for my children, obviously. And I think it's like, when you have your heart broken in any way in life, it takes time to heal. It takes time. And, I wish, I learned a lot. I learned a whole lot. I made mistakes, and I listened to a lot of different people with a lot of different advice, and I was, I panicked at moments. It was because I didn't know this type of thing could happen. I think when you're in a new situation where you just sort of the unimaginable is happening, and you think, you don't know how to respond. So for me, a lot of what came out of it, the grace for me that came out of it was learning a different way of being, really, to survive, and to realize that and also perspective that, okay, this is absolutely crazy in my world, what's going on here. And yet people, are dealing with so many other crazy things too in the world. How do we deal with anything, right? So I have my thing, you have everyone has their version of something in their life, whatever it is that feels out of control, feels unjust.
Right.
And there's anytime there's any children suffering or whatever, so how do you turn all of this, and really, and especially when you're in love, you're also in love. It's not, it's how, the relationship dynamic of being in love with someone and thinking, oh my gosh, I really went into this believing this was something. And so you give yourself a hard time. You feel out of control. And again, you listen to people that really know a lot less than you do, even though you're paying them a lot of money. Because the truth is, and it really, you learn to trust yourself, because when you listen to other people, sometimes you make mistakes too. And a lot of what helped me was reading like Abraham Hicks and The Secret, and how do you, a lot of it was, if I had managed all of the chaos with getting quiet, which is the opposite thing you want to do.
Right.
It's the opposite thing you want to do.
Well, you're in fight or flight. You're in at that point, it's
mode.
when
When you're in survival mode on any level, whatever that is, and what I got was, this letting go, this idea of letting go, and of meditation or prayer or asking, or you don't have to be next to someone to be next to someone energetically. You can send your energy to people. And there's so many of these things that we would think would be kooky, or you talk about that are kind of new agey or whatever, but they're not new agey. They're old agey.
Right.
Old sagey.
Right. Yeah.
They're old sagey.
Yeah.
Is what they are.
They're
forgotten
not new agey, things that are coming back.
Sagey,
Right.
Which is energy and vibration. All these words that we're using now, which are, I'm sure, have been used for a long time. How do you manage your energy in situations? It's like, what they say when you're driving a car and the tire pop, your first instinct is to drive. They say drive into the opposite direction you would drive into. What is it? I don't know. What is that when you're driving?
I'm not sure. I live in New York City, and I never drive anymore.
I don't know. Ask the taxi driver.
But if I understand you, the opposite of what you should do.
No, but what it is, like, you're supposed to turn into the thing. I don't know. People listening will know what I'm talking about.
You guys
even
will
though
know.
I am not articulating it beautifully. But it's almost like sometimes when you get, you almost have to have an opposite reaction. When you get depressed, don't listen to depressed music. Listen to upbeat music. Keep your energy up. It's the same with, all these things. Even though people are saying, oh, this is, you have to keep your energy up. And there was a great woman healer that I went to, Seva Simran Khalsa, Sikh lady in LA, when this was all going on, and she just saw it. She was like, oh, And she so wisely said, what I want you to do, if you can, is just visualize your kids being happy and healthy, and them with you, and this and that, and everything working out beautifully. And had I probably spent more time doing that instead of being in survival mode, which I did do a lot of it, and that's probably how I got through.
Oh, yeah.
But and even just visualizing all day how you want it to be, not how it is. How it, you know, there's the how it is, and you can go over and over and over. It's like the computer. There's that thing spinning, and you can just keep spinning. Or you can, even when you feel you have no power or no strength or no control, the control that you do have is your own creative mind and your own feeling body. So to visualize things working out and sending good energy the way to where it needs to go is incredible. I mean, a mother sending energy to a child is very powerful, no matter where they are at any time in the day.
Right.
And even turning any worry into that. Okay, so there's a worry. How do I turn that into an affirmation, either spoken to my children and or energetically sending them a certain energy, and even to the courts, to your ex-husband, you're this, you're that. And it doesn't work all day, every day.
Right.
But if you're getting there and you're doing that more and more, and I realize in every aspect of our lives we can do that, and it's not something we're necessarily taught, and it's important to teach that.
Yes.
Because it's more powerful than the alternative, and the alternative is not good. So whether it's healing or what is that? And there's a movie that's up for an Oscar this year about the Chinese, I think it's a Chinese family who won't tell the grandmother she's dying, and it's a tradition.
Okay.
So the grandmother's dying, she has cancer, and they all have and the doctor even says, oh, no, you're fine, the results are fine, even though she has like 6 months left. She's like,
right.
And so they all act like nothing's wrong, and they don't tell her that she has this thing.
Yeah.
And, she coughs every once in a while, and everyone goes, oh,
right.
And everyone's in tears because they're trying to keep it together because they know they may lose it, and everything becomes very precious, and every minute with her becomes, and people do the extraordinary things they wouldn't normally do because they know she may. Well, in the story, and it's based on a true story, that woman's still alive.
I could guess the ending. I could guess. I didn't want to say it while you were talking, but I was like,
it's not denial per se, but it is a certain level of saying, you know what?
Yeah.
The minute we hear we have something or something negative, we take it on.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you don't sort of allow it into your energy field, and you don't label it and associate it and go down that road, I'm not saying it's the cure for everything, but it certainly is an interesting. The other way, we know the result.
Exactly.
Therefore, why not try something different, which is let's just not. And if you don't know, your body and your cells don't go into believing it and knowing it. It's like that great thing about the bear in the woods. When you're out camping, there could be you think there's a bear outside of your tent. Well, whether there is a bear or there isn't a bear, your body reacts the same way.
Yeah, it doesn't know it doesn't know the difference.
It still reacts as if there's
a
a bear, and you can kind of go, okay, there's no bear. I just heard a little cry. Well, it's the same thing, I think, with healing ourselves or our ability to say, okay, we'll believe it until it is real, or we're not going to go there.
Well, it's a funny thing you mentioned that, because there's this, I listened to this, I remember, testimonial from this woman, and it was a public thing, and it was definitely factual, and she had terminal cancer, and she wrote on a piece of paper a date, and she said, I'm healed. And she said, everything I did from that moment on, every word I said, every thought I had, no matter how horrible I felt, I said, I'm healed. Somebody asked me, I'd say, I'm healed.
Yeah.
And guess what? 3 months later, the cancer was completely gone.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that and being as astounded as I was, I also knew it was truth. Like, I was like, that is absolutely, like you said, the truth about everything in my life. So it's funny because, as I'm walking in this, I think about this when people ask you how you are, if I'm tired and I'm not doing well, I don't want to be like fakey Fakerson walking around being like, I'm great all the time. But at the same time, I'm like, well, what's going to benefit my well-being? Is sitting and telling them how horrible everything is and my sob story, is that going to help me?
No, you're going to attract more of it.
I'm going to attract more of it. So really, at this point, I don't care.
Like, and then they're going to start talking about their stuff that's all bad too, and then you're all going to be in it together. It's
so I've
true.
kind of given up caring. Like if I look like a fakey Fagerson, I don't really care. Like now I'm just like, you know what? No matter what's going on, I'm doing great. How are you?
Right.
You know, and that is different. It doesn't feed life into the things I don't want.
Yep.
It feeds life into the
You
things
have
I
a
want
choice.
and
That's
shifts
where
me.
your choice is. That's
know.
where your power is. Absolutely.
So going back to, you are an amazing mother. I know this for a fact, and I can hear that the experiences of the last 10, 13 years that has had a big impact on you as a mother.
Yeah.
Your voice as a mother, the way you are. You've spoken a little bit about that. Is there anything else you wanted to share on that topic? Because I know your children are so lucky.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
lucky
see
they
there.
chose me. I always tell them, I'm just so flattered you chose me to be your mom in this lifetime, and how can I be the best mom for you, you know? And it's, you know, it's just love. My kids know that I love them, and you know, I think I always knew I was loved growing up, no matter what was going on. I always knew my mother loved me, and I think love and affection and all of that's very healing, and it's also empowering to say, you know, I tell my kids, look, all of this is your Jedi training. We all have our Jedi training. I had mine with my family. You have yours with your family. We all have. It's again, how do you reframe it so that you realize that it's empowering? It's an empowering situation. I mean, they're going to be able to deal with so many things in their life in such a powerful way, and have such a different perspective. And again, you can look at the negative and look at the bad and toot your horn to that, or you can look at the good and the upsides of things and toot your horn to that. And you're going to have two very different feelings going through your body all day. You're going to carry around two very different energies, and you're going to have two very different results. So all day, that's what we're choosing.
Right.
All day long, with thoughts we're thinking, and I know this has been said a million times, but it's true, with everything all day, we think we're trying to control the things we can't control, and we're not controlling what we can control. So if we can just skip that, if we can stop trying to control everyone else and the world and our ex-husbands and our children and our this and our that and our work, and if we can stop trying to control all of that and just harmonize our energy and get into a place of being able to receive the good. Just being even able to allow it in. We're so much sometimes in resistance and all this stuff to everything. Instead, just what I can control is that when my children look at me, I'm happy, and that I love them, and I'm doing well, and that I say to them, what would be the best thing in the world, the best gift you could give me as a mother is that you feel good and that you're doing well. And the best gift I know I can give you as a mother is to do the same. So how, you know, you do what you need to do, I'll do what I need to do, and we'll be there to support each other because we'll be strong enough to be there to support each other. If we're all a mess, there's nothing anybody can do, right? And that's no different than your relationship with your partner in life. You know, to expect them to be, you know, the best gift we can give someone is to be happy ourselves.
Right.
Because that's the reflection they're getting back, is somebody that knows what they want, takes care of themselves, loves themselves, who's a very clear communicator of their needs in a loving way.
Right.
And being able to appreciate the person sitting across from you.
Right.
All the beauty is there.
Right.
It's all right there. Everything is in front of you, all the beauty. And we're distracted by nonsense.
Well, it's funny
Complete
because
nonsense.
the next thing I was going to ask you was, you know, what do you think are the myths around coming into your own and finding your voice, and you're answering it already, basically,
It's
by what
finding
you're
your inner
saying.
voice. It's not even that,
Yeah.
we all have a voice, right?
Right.
But if you
The
don't have your
inner
inner voice
well, that's
first,
it. Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's really
But
finding your...
those myths about
Yeah.
that, I hear you answering it already, like that it's kind of counterintuitive in a sense. You think that if I am in my power and that the guy is going to run away or this is going to happen, and in fact it's the opposite. It's really not that
Hope he runs
scary.
away if he's going to run away. You know what I'm
the wrong
saying?
one
Like,
is going to
it's...
run away. The one that's meant to be with you is going to stay. But it's often the opposite. I don't know if you can speak to that. Just, I'm always wondering, the question of, it seems so scary sometimes, to listen to that voice. There's that voice, we all have it. Sometimes we tune it out. Sometimes we're not even aware because
we're
we tune it
raised
out.
to listen to everybody
else.
At school, we're
Right.
raised. We listen to the babysitter, listen to the parents, listen to the older people, listen to your grandparents.
Right.
Instead of saying listen to yourself, was what we should be telling our
Right.
children. Well, what does your inner guidance system tell you? What is your intuition telling you? What do you
Right.
believe to be true for you? These are the conversations to have with your
Right.
children.
Right.
What do you believe I should do?
Right. Well, and I love every time I
Because it's
ask you
true.
something, you always write. I love it. The last time I told my husband, I asked you a question about something, and you wrote back, "Well, what do you think you should do?" And I was like, "This is
You know
Kelly
better than I
know.
do.
But
I know.
love that.
It's
I love
true,
that. But
but-
it's true. You're right. It's true.
It's nice to have someone to bounce things off of.
Sure.
That's a difference, right? And hopefully that person's saying, well, what would make you feel really good? And what do you want to do? What would be the most fun?
Right.
Really, because
Right.
that's what a good friend or coach or whatever lover will say is, well, what would make you just light up, so happy, be so happy?
Right.
That's it. And the same with our kids. What do you want to do? How can I support it in a way that's age appropriate for you?
Right.
So,
as I've been developing this podcast, I've had this same question keep coming up a lot. And I feel like, or maybe it's my intuition is telling me that there needs to be a shift. I want a shift. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. What do I do first? How do I do this? This feeling of being really overwhelmed with what's the first thing I can do? Mm-hmm. And I don't know if someone asked you that question, what would you say to them? Because I'm thinking in kind of like contemplating what is the best thing to guide them to themselves to answer that question.
Well, anything new is overwhelming,
Right.
particularly if you don't know about it, right?
Right.
Anything is going to be overwhelming.
Right.
So you figure it out as you go, and you visualize as much of it as you can that feels good. The idea is to think about something as long as it feels good. And then the minute it doesn't feel good anymore, turn your attention to something else and think about it for as long as it feels good.
Right.
And then go back to that other thing. Mm-hmm. It's creative play, right? So what happens is we think about this idea, I'm going to start a business. It's going to be great. I got this, da, da, da. And then all of a sudden you start going, okay, but then I need to find out who this is, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that. And you go down this road of just like, so you never do it because you don't know how to do all this stuff.
Right.
Instead of, that's what's so great about kids, and I think kids
should run the world.
Not that I'm for like child labor. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that kids should be asked and supported in creative endeavors earlier. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Businesses, but it doesn't have to be businesses like we know businesses, but that they learn, because we wait so long to explore these things, and then as adults we feel like if we don't know everything, that's bad. Mm-hmm. It's bad not to know everything. Mm-hmm. We don't ask questions anymore because we should know that. We're an adult. There's so many things. I have no idea. I'm an actress. I sit with my friends that have real jobs.
Yeah.
like corporate jobs. I don't mean real job. I have a real job. But, I'm like, well, what is it like to do that? To manage all those people, or to have, board meetings, or to do what they do all day. It's fascinating to me,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know what I do and how it works, just like it's fascinating to other people, you know, how does that work? What's it like being on a set? What's it like to, you know, I'm the same with other people and their jobs and what they do and their abilities. But think about it until it's fun and make lists. And again, do until it's fun. Make the calls you want to make today. So let's say you think, okay, what do I need? What would be fun to learn about here? I need to figure out if I want to make dresses like manufacturers and labels and all that. And just do the part that's fun for that day. It's like a little, I think a lot of it is just, we don't have to have every answer to everything today.
That's great advice. The stuff that's fun, do that.
Get up in the morning and say, what part of this would be fun for me today? Period. And what can I do that's fun today?
Right.
What can I do? Can I do something what can I do for myself that's nice today?
Right.
Whatever it is.
Right.
You know, and then you'll find that like every day of your life becomes kind of fun. I mean, you are an adult. You're allowed to do what you know, you can have a cookie
fun.
for lunch.
Exactly.
You could go to bed what time you want to go to bed.
You can find yourself stuff.
There's some fun stuff about being an adult.
Yes.
There is.
Oh, yes.
You can start a business and your parents aren't going to tell you you can't do it, or you can do this. You can.
Yeah.
So it's into the play. A lot of it is the play, and
Right.
I'm guilty of it. I mean, I need to play more. I tend to be a bit serious. I can get serious about things, so I won't start doing that. Or you don't
Right.
want to, you know, you're even as an actor or as a woman, you know, you're seen in a certain light. Or certain characters or certain ways. So you're like, well, if I do that, everyone's going to, that's really off-brand for Kelly because that's so not her, right?
Right.
When there's so many sides to myself that I, you know, that I have that maybe I go, well, God, if I put that dirty joke on there, it's not going to go with my inspirational quotes. But I do laugh at dirty jokes.
I know.
And I laugh mostly on Lisa Renna's page. Like she's doing you know, like my friends that do stuff that's a little more provocative and fun. I'm like, oh, that looks like fun. But oh my, people would think they came to the wrong Instagram feed. They'd be like, what? Kelly dancing on tables after having like.
Oh, I want that.
It would just be like, you know what I mean?
I want that.
Like, what? So it's a lot of it is sort of we stay within the range of what we're seen and known as.
Right.
And sort of, okay, that doesn't mean you have to go over here and be completely crazy or do this or do that. And maybe that's not even comfortable to you. Like I've never enjoyed going out and partying and being in large crowds and like everyone doing. So I mean, not that I haven't gone out and done that when I was young and thought, okay, but it never felt comfortable to me. I'd much rather be at home puttering.
Right.
You know, or be with a couple of friends and do my thing. I have been social. My work is social. I enjoy certain social gatherings, but it's not like my brother loves music. He'll go to every concert, stay up so late, be in a crowd, and he loves it. He thrives on it. You know, he's a musician. His hours are completely the opposite of mine. You know, so we learn. I don't even know what your question was now. I went off.
I don't know, but that was awesome. I loved the answer.
I went to like
it was great.
some other thing.
It was fantastic.
Oh,
I
it's
loved
fun.
it.
Okay.
I learned a little bit more about you, which always makes me
girl.
happy.
Yeah, but it's fun. That's what I mean.
still want
But
the dancing table video.
It's about boundary. No, but it is. It's about
Yeah.
expanding our idea of even how our parents. You know, we grew up and our parents see us a certain way, or we grew up in a certain area. It's these things are all just. We're much more fluid than that.
Well, what I getting also from it is, you know, one of the reasons I think that I don't always pick the thing that my intuition says to do is the fear of the look of others on me.
Sure.
So letting that go, it's a work. It's like it takes time, but letting it go, the results have been, again, counterintuitive, because what I found is that there's certain people that have come to me after and said, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Like they see me change and they're like, I want to do that. So it's very different than what I expected. There's always going to be the people who are triggered by it or they're not ready for it, and that's okay. But you help people.
Yeah.
When you do those little
Well, when
shifts
you
all the
expand,
time.
you create space
Yeah,
for people. So,
yeah.
and you're expanding and
Yeah.
doing all these wonderful
Yeah.
things that you're doing.
Yeah.
You're leaving space for other people to
Yeah.
do it, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and that who we are just keeps evolving and changing.
is.
It's supposed to evolve and change. It's not a stagnant, like, kind of sit there and
Nothing
be
is, you know,
that.
everything's a living, even relationships, you know,
Yeah.
with people. We're always growing and changing and expanding, and
Yeah.
hopefully, it's the idea.
Oh my goodness.
The planets are, the universe is. It's just sort of.
I feel like we could have continued with like a 4-hour epic podcast, but I think that people maybe we'll do another one.
You and I are always talking about these things.
We'll do another one in the future.
We need to do a coffee thing, like
Yeah,
just like
a coffee talk.
yeah,
I love it.
Coffee.